Well, hi. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Did you enjoy your groundhog for dinner last night? Yeah, that goofy thing saw his shadow, and that means 6 more weeks of winter, which, by the way, this is something that I've never really understood. All right, let's do the math here. If the groundhog can see his shadow, that means the sun is out. And that means typically it's a nice day. So, wouldn't that indicate that earlier spring is coming instead of a cloudy, gloomy day when he can't see his shadow and spring is just around the corner? I don't get it. I've never understood it, but all I know is that there's some people out in Pennsylvania that they wait all year for it. So, guys wear funny hats. Yeah, a lot of that going on. Coming up today, we are going to bring you a conversation that, well, to be honest with you, I wasn't even expecting to have at the beginning of the day yesterday. We brought in someone who was interested in doing a podcast, and both Kyle and I were having a conversation. And number one, it's a really interesting idea for a podcast, but also it got me thinking that since we talk a lot about the process, maybe it would be a good idea to show you part of the conversation that goes into setting up a podcast. So, Amy Bruce, who was very gracious with her time and said, yeah, I would be willing to do that. We sat down and she and I had a conversation yesterday. And it started with just her idea for a podcast. And then it just kind of took a existential turn, and I'm not even really sure how we got there. But that is what can happen when you have these conversations. You just kind of let them go where they go, and it's really fascinating. And Amy has some wonderful ideas and wants to be able to bring a voice to some people. Actually, just a way for some people to get their voice out there. It's not that they don't have a voice, and she's going to tell you that very thought coming up here in just a few minutes. So Amy Bruce is our guest today on Morning Coffee. Morning Coffee brought to you by Keith Jones, your Edward Jones financial advisor in Council Bluffs. Learn how he can help you reach your financial goals. Visit edwardjones.com for more. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Good morning. Start with peace of mind. And at Miners Healthcare, they provide professional in-home support where it matters most, helping individuals maintain comfort, dignity, and independence in their daily lives. Their experienced nursing team focuses on personalized care, clear communication, and supporting families through every step of the process. This is healthcare built on trust, compassion, and real relationships. Learn more about Miners Healthcare and their services at minershealthcare.com. And technology should work for you, not against you. And at ThinkSpace IT, they provide expert IT solutions to keep your business running smoothly and securely. From cybersecurity and cloud services to network management and tech support, they simplify IT so you can focus on what matters most. Stay protected, stay connected, stay ahead. Visit thinkspaceit.com. Since we are still reasonably new here in the studios on Willow, oftentimes I begin these conversations with saying making a first appearance, and this is Amy Bruce, first time sitting in this studio.
Yes.
And hey, thank you very much, first off, for agreeing to sit down and do this, because we're going to get to the why behind it in just a minute. But I'm assuming that when you got up this morning, this wasn't how you thought the day was going to go.
It wasn't how I thought it was going to go 2 minutes ago. So that's no.
We talk a lot on the show about podcasting and about people's why behind starting one and some of the different things that go into putting one together. You came here today to talk to us about a podcast
Yes.
idea, and I thought this could make a really interesting conversation because we are in the very beginning stages of how all of this would be laid out. And we're just kind of ripping the veil back a little bit and taking a peek as to the process that can go on. And this is new for me. I've never had one of these conversations before. So we're just going to find out how this goes and cross our fingers that everything works out best in the end.
Perfect, because it's new for me as well.
Okay.
Brand new.
Brand new. Okay, tell us a little bit about the idea that you have for a podcast.
The idea comes from a project that I was working on for 20 years, and it's just been through my travels and my experiences in humanitarian work. And there was a common phrase that was said to me because I started in the mission field through Christianity, and it was, We need to be a voice for the voiceless. But as I began speaking with people, they have voices. So it's not a matter of being their voice, it's a matter of building a platform that their voice can be heard. And it's not, we hear a lot of, we get a lot of stories on famous people. We get a lot of stories on specific people throughout our country or our community. But I think there's a real power in just listening to everyday common people on what is happening within their lives and be able to communicate about it and be real about it and honest with each other about it instead of hiding behind these walls and facades that have been built up around us.
You know what you're talking about there. Previous to this platform being available and something that folks could either listen to, watch, or produce themselves, I don't know that that existed. I don't know that that type of approach existed anywhere across the media platforms that we have.
And I think the reason behind that is, and I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody, but it does come from a construct of I want to be the one that solves the problem. Right. Like I want to be the one that, and whether if that's on an individual level or if it's on a business level or whatever, everyone is looking to be the I in the problem solving part. And it's not about that. Problems don't get solved with just one person going in. It really, especially within a community or if we're trying to make change, it's really about the community coming together. And so being able to get to know the person who's living next door to you or the person that you happen to go to the grocery store with and understand too, I think there's a lot of community building to be had just in the common struggles that we all have. And so I think that that is something that we can talk about, but really we're in many cases afraid or ashamed to talk about it, whether if we're having money struggles or if we're having emotional struggles. Um, Being able to have a platform where people can not only speak but feel heard and seen. And it is about breaking down stereotypes. I think being able to hear someone that maybe you wouldn't approach yourself, out of whatever reason. It could even be the fact that obviously you're shy or a prejudice that you have. um, Being able to listen to someone that you wouldn't have the opportunity to approach and just begin having these conversations. I think that can open a lot of people's eyes and hopefully hearts to be able to want to connect and realize that we're not different. We're the same species. We're the same. We're all human beings, and um, what society has put on that differentiates us from each other really doesn't. It only exists because the rules are there, and they don't have to be there.
You reminded me of something that I heard very, very early on when I started working in this field. And I was talking with a friend of mine. He introduced me to someone that he was friends with, who has since become a very good friend of mine that also had done podcasting. And one of the things that he told me, which is not just for podcasting, but also a life philosophy for him, is try not to be the lead character in your own story.
Exactly.
And that puts uh, us in a place to where we can be something for someone else. And want to get out of your own head, go help somebody. It's a very common thing. So that, as you were talking about that, that's what it reminded me of. Thanks, Nate. I appreciate it. But it's past just our own tiny little circle
Yes.
that, in the echo chamber that we all like to live in now, that the online world has created, because it just continually feeds us things that we think we already want to hear. And getting outside of that by having a real conversation. You and I are
Yes.
sitting across a table right now,
Yes.
3 dimensions. We've got great resolution on being able to
Yes.
see each other. And that has more to do, I think, with the potential growth and pulling out of this societal dive that we have been in for a while.
Yes. And what you see online is curated specifically to show exactly what they're trying to get across.
Mm,
It is curated specifically for that's why you have your algorithms within your, what is being advertised, what is being shot to keep you within this circle. It's much like I'm trying to think of a good analogy without being too you get into a group and the people that you surround yourself with typically support what you do. They agree with, they believe, you have common beliefs. That's why you get along. And when you become stuck in those groups and you don't venture outside, that eventually becomes the existence of your world,
mhm.
right? Whether if that's your family, your friends, work, whatever. And so to be to be able to step outside of that without stepping outside of your comfort zone, being able to get a sample of someone else's life and their experiences and what they have gone through that happens to live in your community down the street from you or halfway across the world, it gives you a perspective, a different perspective of what your world is and what it could be, whether if it's something you like or you don't like. It can give you a perspective, and it's a spectrum, right, of perspective of and I also think it gives the we use so many dehumanizing phrases when we speak about people.
I do it to myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. And that really that's what it boils down to. But when you begin to dehumanize, it takes out the empathy that we naturally have for one another because I mean, as human beings, we are community driven species.
mhm.
So when you take that away, and I think that a lot of what people struggle with is there is a specific cookie cutter box that we're supposed to fit in, right? Within societies or within communities or within our families or our friends. And when you begin to test the boundaries of those, of the box or the guidelines, you can meet backlash. And sometimes that backlash is very painful.
Mhm.
So to be able to have people who have a common experience or a common interest or whatever, it builds relationship. And it may be with somebody that this was not on my docket today. Just like what you said, right?
Right.
This was not on my docket to sit here and have this conversation. I have an idea. Um, and I know how healing it has been for me to be able to speak my truth, to be able to speak about my story. And it is both perspectives. It's taken away people from my lives, but it's brought people in my life. And the people that it's brought in my life are more aligned to who I am than the people who have left. So I think it is such a powerful tool to be able to connect and relate with somebody on these very deep levels.
I think too that um, as we were talking earlier and we're talking now, on the surface, the point may seem to be having a willingness to have an uncomfortable conversation, but
Yes.
I don't know that that's true. This is what I think that it is. It's having the conversation and finding out that it doesn't have to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. And even if it is uncomfortable in the beginning, that's your anxiety and your fear, right? That's the um what I would say were, like, for me, the constructs of how I was taught and raised and believed. um so being able to overcome that,
Hmm.
to have the conversation and realize that, scary at first. I'm going to be honest, I'm sweating. I was a little nervous right this, right? So yeah, but it's
Right?
turning out right
Yeah.
and into this beautiful moment of two human beings being able to sit down and have these conversations about life. And I mentioned before we came or before we agreed to do this that we drive our cars and we're so quick to honk our horn and flip somebody off and, scream out the window, but we have no idea what's going on in their day. And I've been trying to remind myself of that because I know I've been, there's been situations where I'm rushing somewhere and I cut someone off. They don't know that I'm having a horrible day, but I know I'm having a horrible day, right? So it's like extending that, reminding myself of extending that empathy out to people and looking at each other as I don't know I don't know what has happened to where we have gone from looking at each other as human beings to looking at each other as, I would say, objects in a way, right? Like there's no I think when we're yelling at a car, we're yelling at the car,
Yeah.
right? We're
Hmm.
not screaming because if you would take a moment and get out of the car and have a conversation, I'm sure in many cases tensions can be de-escalated
Yep.
and you get to the human side of it. But instead we're just screaming at these objects that are driving past us, and then for whatever reason that anger gets transferred onto the person who's behind. But when I think of what I'm screaming at the Ford F-150 that just cut me off, not the person driving it, right? So I think that we have become to where we take and it becomes about hmm, I lost my train of thought there.
Well, no, I do understand what you're talking about, though, because I used to be one of those people that got mad in traffic. I
Hmm.
used to be one of those
I'm
guys.
still one of those people. I'm
Well,
working on it,
I, I,
right?
I have almost completely eliminated this because what I have found is that if somebody cuts me off, I have a choice right at that moment. I can either get upset, and by the way, if I do, I'll stay upset,
Hmm.
or I can lift my right foot slightly, back off just a little bit, put a little bit of space between me and that car that they just took up from the space that I had in the car in front of them. I was
Yes.
traveling at a safe space. This person just came into it. So if I just put that space back, then I instantly feel better and it's gone.
Right.
And because the thing is that as angry as I may get if somebody cuts me off in traffic, they don't feel that anger.
That's
They're
right.
on with their day.
Hmm.
They just cut me off and they're moving on. Unless they know me and it was on purpose and they were trying to do something horrible to me and they're looking in the rearview mirror, but
Yes.
they're on their way and they've left. Once I realize that, then that particular thing can translate into so many other areas of life. You look at what's going on online and in the comments section or across social media and the way that people like to take shots at each other. It's online road rage.
Yes.
There's nothing
You're absolutely right.
there's
You're
nothing good
absolutely right.
happening from it. Have
Yes.
you ever seen the comment online anywhere that says, "Wow, I never looked at it that way. I see your point." Have you ever seen
It,
that?
it would no,
Yeah.
because yeah, no, and that is what that does too as well. Online, it removes the humanity,
Mm.
right? Because then you're just talking to a computer screen, or you're just angrily typing, or you're on your phone. But this person, instead of it, in my mind, it doesn't really register that I'm talking to a real human being. I'm talking to the comment.
Yeah.
I realize that the comment is attached to a human being. But if given the opportunity to sit in a room, to have a conversation, because it's more than just it's being in the environment, it's being in the same energy, it's
Hmm.
being in it's relational. It's a relational moment. And um it's hard to have that online. It's hard to have those moments online. It's just like driving a car. It's hard to do that because it's again, it's an object. And I think that all of that transfers into um, when we do meet face to face, then we already have all of these preconceived ideas about the person that we're sitting here, talking to, or just based on their appearance or based
Hmm.
on what it doesn't matter. And so being able to get just people to come on and share their lives of who and their experiences in life and have conversations about it, I think is incredibly important to building strong communities.
Well, circling back all the way to the podcast idea, and when we first started, well, actually, when I came into the room, there was a topic that you were talking about, but then it just kind of, one topic leads to the next, leads to the next,
Yes.
leads to the,
Yep.
and you can see that that in itself is an indication of how many things we have in common with different, even with different topics that can come up. Giving someone an opportunity to tell their story in their own voice. And I'd mentioned something to you that resonated with you when I said it, that, and I've said it before, that I'm not a voice for the community. I'm a conduit for voices in the community. Other people sitting in the chair that you're sitting in right now can come on this show and can talk about whatever the topic might be. And with the different things that are happening around the area. And usually it's about some one specific thing.
Hmm.
This has a more generalized feel to it, but that doesn't matter.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how that goes. What matters is it genuine and is it authentic?
I was just going to say
Yeah, yeah.
authentic. I think that that is the greatest gift that anyone can have and that anyone can give. The greatest that anyone can have is finding their authenticity. And the greatest gift that anyone can give is accepting somebody in their authenticity. And there's so much hatred against people who don't fit into the same, I don't even want to say category because it's so multifaceted, but doesn't fit into the idea of what another person has. They're automatically um, judged by that. So whether if it's your sexuality, whether if it's your race, it's your gender, what you do for a living, how you dress, um, there's so many out there, and giving people the opportunity to be authentic, and sometimes it can be for the first time. And when you witness someone being authentic for the first time, you see this light come on in their eyes because it's the first time that people have felt comfortable within their own skin, have felt accepted within their own skin, to be able to be free. I mean, that's really what it is, to be free, to be free to be who you are, not what people around you want you to be, not what society wants you to be, not what your culture wants you to be, but just to be free and authentic in who you are. Now, I do understand that that comes with constraints. Obviously, you can't go around murdering people because you want to harm people. That is not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about if you can live within society, benefiting, contributing, not harming. I think that is just a beautiful thing.
I think too that, to actually take another layer off of that, oftentimes when someone first has that opportunity, I don't think they can answer the question.
You're right.
I think that I was there for a while.
Hmm.
You go back however many years, I couldn't tell you who I was
Yes.
because I didn't really have a good understanding about that because I'd spent so much of my time trying to be something. It wasn't something that I wasn't. It was something that I just interpreted others wanted me to be.
Exactly.
So I can't even accurately say whether this is something I was or I wasn't. It was just my interpretation of what someone else's vision was. Not even what the real vision was. Just what I was interpreting it to be.
It,
Yeah.
it is. It is. And I feel like you and I have gone on a similar journey. I shared that I've been, on this 3-year cave dive of mine, being in my cave, and it's been my healing journey. And the, yeah, I had, if you would have asked me this question 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to give you an accurate answer of who I was or who I even thought I was because we spend so much time looking outward for others to love us the way that we want to be loved, for others to validate us in the way that we want to be or we feel we need to be validated, accept. And the reality of it is, it's not until I shifted that focus inwards, realizing that I have to love myself. I have to validate myself. It is about how I accept and love myself. And when that gets firm, then you stop looking at outward influences to fill those
Hmm.
things within you. And that is where I found the authenticity. I had no desire to get back into this field. When I left, or when I went my cave dive 3 years ago, getting back into humanitarian nonprofit work was not on my agenda because I had been in it for decades. And for example, in Haiti, I've been there for 20 years and I cannot even go to Haiti right now because it is so dangerous that foreigners are just not allowed in. Even Haitians that I know are not going to Haiti because it is so dangerous. So, what did I do? And that's how I'm looking at it. Like, okay, so I went, I devoted 20 years, all this time, all of these efforts going by the way that it is dictated that you help people, right? That you do humanitarian work, you do nonprofit work. And I started going in 1996. I met the UN. I was a 16-year-old high schooler student getting bright-eyed view of the world in Haiti with the UN tanks meeting me at the airport, to where there was a lot of stability for a while, but now it's fallen again. So it does make you pause and think, what really is it? What is it that's going to make sustainable change in the world? It's empathy. Without empathy, there's not going to be change. Without having empathy for your neighbor, without having empathy for the person sleeping on the streets, without having empathy for maybe someone in your community has had a more difficult time growing up than you have, and that's the way they behave or they act in ways that you don't like, could stem from that. It could be it's such a gamut of things, but without empathy. And I was asked this question for years and years and years. What's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer that's going to solve Haiti? And I've traveled the world. And the answer again is empathy. It is, we have to have empathy for each other as a species, as human beings, not dehumanizing one another. And I don't care where you stand, um, politically, religiously, whatever category you can throw out there. It's everyone needs to generate empathy and take a look at how you're talking about other people. And just like what you said before, how you're talking about other people generally is how you're talking about yourself,
Hmm.
because it is a projection.
Yep.
So, yeah, the empathy, it's a full cycle. You begin to have empathy for other people, and at the same time, that generates empathy for yourself. Because if you can start being softer on other people, you're going to be softer on yourself because it becomes more natural to you. I've never known a baby that has come into this world that had malicious intentions. I've raised two children. I've worked with a lot of kids. I've never met a child with malicious intentions. They have empathy. They want that love and they want to give it as well. So we really need to start dissecting what is causing this lack of empathy within our community and within our culture and its relationships. We're not relational with each other anymore.
No,
We
no,
can
we're not.
No, we can order off of Amazon. If we don't want to go to the grocery store, it pops up at our doorstep. We can get online, voice if we've had a bad day. We see a comment that pisses us off. We can go and make our comments and vent our anger. We don't care who's on the other side receiving that comment, right? There's no relationship. And it is about being uncomfortable. But we're all really uncomfortable right now anyway. So for me, I want to take this uncomfortableness. I'll give you an example and you can choose. I'll give you an example.
It's okay.
Okay. Um, I had a Two, during the last election, I had both a Republican and a Democrat come to my doorstep cold calling, right, just to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I won't say which one, but there's in the beginning, I walked outside with the one that I didn't care for, and I had a wall already up. I was already going to meet them with anger. But unfortunately for me, happened to be a really nice guy. And that led to a conversation of, yeah, we may be on opposite sides, but here's some common ground that we both have. And it started with being neighborly, caring about the people around us. I remember when I began traveling outside of Haiti into other countries and I saw family structures. I remember going to countries and seeing men walking down the street holding hands. They're not in any type of a relationship other than they were friends. I just had dinner with some people that are immigrants here, and I went over to their house, and literally the men are all like hand in hand, sitting on each other, having these beautiful conversations. And it struck me as that may be conceived differently throughout different parts of the world of what that looks like. But for them, it's just genuine friendship and it's companionship and it's relationship and it's showing love outside of the context of a romantic relationship or a mother-father bond or a father-child or parent-child bond. And we do need that. We need that connection. So yeah, building relationships.
Well, I can tell you, Amy, that if you want to have a successful podcast and you get to define what success is, recreate that energy. You and I sitting in this room having an honest conversation about things, that is what translates. The energy in a room
Yes.
translates through in a podcast. I have seen it because once upon a time, I used to just do audio only podcast, and I would get really aggressive with editing, and I would take out all the uhs and the ums and everything that actually made that conversation human. I cleaned it all up.
Exactly. Yes.
And thinking that I was doing something right. But what I was doing was changing the energy of the conversation without even realizing I was doing it. Yeah, it sounded great. Sounded very professional. Sounded like something that you could attach to a documentary somewhere.
Exactly.
But it stopped being real. And I quit doing that. That's why many times we've sat here and folks that are fans of the show have seen it. They'll say, "Oh, you can edit that out." And I said, "Yeah, I can, but I'm not going to."
Because it's real.
Because
it's
it's real.
authentic. It's
real.
human.
You know,
Yes.
earlier on when we were sitting here talking and you said, "Wait, I lost my train of thought." That's real.
Yes.
That is a real thing that happens in conversations all the time. And to eliminate that is taking away the authenticity that we are talking about that needs to happen at any point that you sit down and have one of these conversations. You're talking about a really aggressive topic that not about one specific thing, I don't think. I think it is there can be a common thread that runs through it with a lot of different topics and different subjects, and there's still that common thread, and that's being able to sit across a table and have an honest conversation with somebody, or two chairs, or whatever the set might be. That is what works in podcasting, and that is what I try to create with conversations that I have with folks, and I'm hoping that they feel that when they're here and know that
I feel that. Yes.
well,
I feel comfortable. So
and I'm
yes.
grateful for that because that's the way that these work. So, as I said, given a peek behind the curtain of the process of setting up a podcast, some not at all like this. Some are more, hey, we want to talk about, how to fix cars or whatever it might be. That's going to have a different feel. But for what you are bringing to the table and what you want to be able to do, this is it. Letting people have a place to say what they want to say and know that it's okay. It's okay to say it.
Yes.
And
And safe
it,
and freeing and to be seen.
and you said something earlier, and I don't want to keep you too long, but when we were just talking before the camera started, you made a point of saying this isn't political. And even though you told a quick story about, opposite parties coming to your door, it's not political. We get that way. There's too many segments in society
Yes.
that have just dug in trenches, and that's their entire identity now.
Yes.
And
And it's divisive.
oh boy, is it divisive.
Yes.
And there is so much more to a person than the tiny little letter in parentheses that's next to their name.
Exactly. There's so much more to a person besides just one element of their life. We're so multifaceted and we're so complex. And the whole, I would like, if you don't mind, I would like to share the story of
Please.
the story
Mhm.
that started this project. So I'd been working in Haiti for a long time, and I'd been asked to go to this village that was pretty much inaccessible. And I've been asked many times, and no one would go. Other people have been asked to go to the village because it was among the poorest of the poor in Haiti. And Haiti is already the poorest country in the Northern Hemisphere. And so we go, and or I finally agreed to go. It's an 8-hour trip on a motorcycle that I'm sharing with two other people. I'm in the middle,
Wow.
no shocks. And we're going up and down mountains,
Yeah.
Jeep trails. And we finally get there, and I meet this family, and they bring out this little boy, and he's blind. It looks like he could be 8 years old. It looked like skin draped over bones. And so I began asking the family if I could get him some help because I was connected to a hospital. I could get him to the hospital, wouldn't have been a problem. Matter of fact, I was there to do a clinic or to start the process of getting a mobile clinic. And they refused. So I was like, all right, I'll bring the doctors to them. It took me a year to get the doctors to this little boy. Um, but I went 2 months before the clinic was in December of 2015. I went in September of 2015 to bring over and to, get everything ready for the clinic to come. And while I was back here in Nebraska, I had gone to a couple of pharmacists to get medicine, different things that I could teach the grandmother who was taking care of the child, how to bandage his wounds and, just keep him clean until the doctors could get there. So I ran down when I made that journey back out there and I got to the village and I was 2 weeks too late. He had passed away 2 weeks before I could get back to him. And when I began asking more and more questions, I found out that his mother had died and he became blind after his mother died. So they took him to what they call the leaves doctor. And that's what caused the sores. And ultimately, the decision was that because when in Haiti, when the parents die, the child goes to the next of kin. Well, the family already had 6 children. And so he could not, they just, they just let him die. And then I found out that they sold his organs on the black market. And I asked for his name because I was actually going to name this project after him. And no name. And so I sat there that night as I was up the hill from this. The only memory I have is a blurry snapshot of this little boy who has no name and was never seen. And it made me think about how many people we walk by on the streets every single day who don't feel seen, who are suffering inside, who are struggling. Some people, maybe even in that moment, struggling with if they want to continue on with this life or Maybe it's someone who knows what they're going home to. And I just feel that everybody has the right to be seen and to be heard. Just as acknowledge it for existing. And that's the whole emphasis of the project. It's not about me. I had the conversation with you. I would care. I don't even care if I'm visible. It's about the person. Because I know what it's like to not be seen. I know what it's like to not be heard. And it's painful when you feel that your existence is meaningless.
In order to make sure that those people are seen that you're talking about, it does require you stepping into it.
It does.
And you're doing that. And this is a much heavier topic than we typically have on the show, but also I think that it's important to remember that we may think we know what's going on with our neighbors, but we don't know the complete story.
Exactly.
And being okay with not knowing and still being there for that person.
Yes.
And what I love about the region where we live is that there is a community feel that we have, and that you're trying to create, I believe, does exist.
Yes.
So I don't want to. I've said for a long time I'm going to make up a T-shirt that just says "You find what you're looking for."
That's the truth. It's true.
Because it doesn't matter what you're looking for. My therapist likes to say, use the Native American philosophy of what wolf are you feeding, but it's the same thing. You find what you're looking for. So you went looking for something and weren't able to find that. So this is the next step from that. That young boy's not here anymore. He's not on Earth anymore. But other people are.
Yes.
And being able to tell their story. So if you will allow Kyle and I the opportunity to help you tell that story, we would love to be able to do that.
I feel like it's you allowing me.
Well,
so that's the other way around.
There's,
yes.
I think that there's a lot of good that you can do with that. And any assistance that we can be along that road, we would love to be able to do that. And this is one of those things that you're looking for a natural conclusion to a conversation. I'm not sure where it is.
I don't know where. No.
I don't know where it is. So what I'm going to leave it with is then just to be continued.
Exactly.
And look for a podcast coming hopefully very soon by Amy Bruce, as yet untitled. We'll get it figured out.
No time. We're getting there. Yes.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get all of the details worked out. We'll push it out. We'll make sure that people have an opportunity to see it and hear some stories.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Well, I'm grateful for your willingness to sit down and do this at the last minute with no preparation.
No.
And
replug the meter.
Yeah, just put a little more change in the meter and away we go. But grateful that I've had the opportunity to get to know you here today.
Same. This is the amazing thing, getting outside of your comfort zone, and it's amazing the people you meet and connect with. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes and other people being able to come on and share and get to meet in a community. I mean, that's what it is. It's building communities.
There you go.
Yep.
Can't say it any better than that.
That's right.
I think we may have just found a podcast name.
Hey. Hey.
All right. Until next time, Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a feeling that we will be hearing from Amy Bruce again very soon, and I'm looking forward to helping her get this podcast going and to see just exactly what it can become. I think that the concept is great, and it should be a great addition to everything that we're doing here at Local Stream Media. If you're looking for a laid-back spot that has great food and even better company, come to the Mile Away in Council Bluffs. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, this family-run bar and grill is your go-to for mouthwatering wings, unbeatable weekly specials, and a welcoming atmosphere that feels like home. They're located on Old Lincoln Highway, just north of Council Bluffs, the perfect place to relax, enjoy good times, and follow them on Facebook for the latest events and specials. The mile away where great food and great people come together. And Morning Coffee, supported by Bryce Taylor and GLI Insurance Group, proudly serving Council Bluffs, Tabor, and Clarinda. The start of the year is a great time to reset and look ahead. There's new plans, new goals, and making sure the things you've worked hard for are protected as we roll through winter. Bryce and the team at GLI live and work right here in our communities, and they're always happy to sit down, answer questions, and help neighbors make sense of their coverage. GLI Insurance Group, local people, local service, helping our communities start the year strong. Well, what do you think? Is my voice back to normal? It feels normal, and I actually have full range of all of the inflections, and it's amazing how just a little bit of a cold kind of wraps itself around your vocal cords, and you can't talk very well anymore. But we got through it, and I see nothing but sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows ahead. How about that? All right. Thanks again, Amy Bruce, for being our guest today. We have a big week ahead, and I'm looking forward to it. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.